Okay, and the sound recording is on. And the screen recording is also on. Okay, that's weirdly overhand, strange mechanic. Browser is on, and we have some commercials there. Hang on. Because fuck you, that's why. So we no longer have any commercials here. Good. And we're going to be doing a little bit of a political thing today. We're going to be trying to figure out how am I politically aligned with our current political parties that are going to be trying to get into the government in Czech Republic, into the election. So we're going to see if I'm a horrible person, or if in fact I'm actually a good person, or if that could be even judged by that. And I'm going to be explaining to you what could be the political driving of certain things for modern Czech citizen in his, well, not quite 40s yet. So first question, do you want the fastest, and by the way, this is all in Czech, so that, because it's Czech elections, obviously. So I'm going to be translating for you as much as possible. So would you like as fast as possible Euro adoption? That is in the next voting in the next voting term. No, and by the way, I was already going through it, so I'm partially prepared for that, so you'll see some previous answers there. Or actually, let's make it more interesting. There. Let's make it more interesting. You're not gonna see what I've been choosing before. Instead, we're gonna have a look freshly. So, would you like the fastest possible adoption of Euro in the next voting? I don't think that's important at all. It's not important to me. I don't think that's like number one thing that we need to do. Euro, here's the thing. From Slovakia, we know that Euro didn't go well at all. Since they have Euro, a lot of people have reported that they are poorer, which is interesting because on the technical side, Euro shouldn't really harm you that much because it's just a change of currency. So technically it shouldn't do anything really, but apparently it still does. So that's kind of an interesting thing. Now let's see. So we're gonna say no, and it's not important for us at all. And by the way, Euro, again, it's interesting that despite the fact that it's just currency, it shouldn't change anything. It actually did kind of kick, especially the poorer people, down. So, I'm not liking that at all. And we don't really know what effect it will have in Czech Republic. So it's kind of funny that you can have one currency, but separate inflation rates. Are you for maintaining Czech munition initiatives starting providing weapons for defense of Ukraine? Yes. I would say that's medium important to me. We should keep supporting Ukraine. It's kind of the thing that we should be generally doing. Okay, so next, would you like the government to to mark useless. Yeah, damn! I have to put it in a translator. Fields, useless study fields, in high schools for which students will be paying. First of all, I don't think that should be the government doing that. So that would be no. Okay? And here's the thing. I'm one of those people who is generally not convinced, about, for example, the field of philosophy being as important nowadays. Which also doesn't mean that, we shouldn't have any philosophers, you know. We should know where to look if we want, someone to be wrong. But, yeah, no, it's like, I don't think government should be marking that down. I think the government should be more or less looking for cases where, we could see intrusion from the outside, where these schools may be used to indoctrinate our children for certain religious or political views. That I see as more important than like trying to delete certain fields from schools by putting them behind a paywall. Because for those unaware, in Czech Republic, we do have free education system. Like, technically we pay for it through taxes, but it's free to sort of enlist and like go and be at school and train. Of course, once you're adult, you do have to pay your medical and social support. So your life isn't free, but being at school on the technical side is free. So I don't think government should be touching that at all. Do you agree with banning manufacturing of cars with internal combustion engines? No, it's a hard no. I feel like this whole ecological adventure has gone a little bit sideways. And the European Union, with these moves, is kind of starting to turn into Soviet Union. Even though, you know, some people would like to tell me, oh, but there was more right-wing people voted for than ever before. Yeah, but the decisions made by European Union are still hard left and still very, you know, very Soviet Union-like. I'm starting to see the parallel between Soviet Union and European Union, where we're starting to reach the sort of 5-year plan kind of a vibe. And I'm wary of that. I'm wary of that. I'm wary of governments, you know, setting deadlines on manufacturing, etc., because overall that messes with the free trade. And unfortunately, we have seen so far what it does when you do these regulations to free trade, because our economies are in shambles. So we're probably not doing so well. You know, even though economy technically it's still going up, how much up could it have been going had we not fucked with it? You know, it's kind of it's that kind of a thing. It's like, yeah, sure, the economy is rising, but couldn't it have been rising more if we haven't been fucking with it? That's the kind of a thing. So, and that, by the way, doesn't mean that I don't want any regulation on trade, okay? Because I think that the completely unregulated capitalism is also problematic. But we shouldn't be making these very hard moves, and also very erratic moves, because these are like these sudden changes, sudden hard changes that are not really natural. And that's really causing a lot of harm in the economy, in my opinion. So hard no on banning internal combustion cars. Next question: are you for increasing the defense spending to 5% HDP as the NATO requires? Yeah, I think we should have been there since the revolution. And it's kind of important because I think it's not just because of NATO. It's plainly because if you have a country and you don't have an army, then you don't have a fucking country. Okay? It's just not a country if it doesn't have a military. Standing military. It doesn't have to be the giantest, most powerful military ever, but it should be noted that if the enemy decides to attack your country, they're going to hurt. If you don't have military, if you don't have defense spending, then might as well you can just join another country because you don't exist. Next question. Should the government lower the steps of state, that means negative steps of state, the state budget by reducing, it's incredible. I usually speak regular, fluid English, but once I have to read in Czech and translate it, oh my god. Yeah, so should the government be reducing the steps in state in state's budget by reducing spending instead of increasing taxes? Yes, absolutely. We should be more responsible with our spending, and I know how spending works. If you have a number that you are supposed to spend, you're going to spend that number. And that means, if you give people that amount of money, let's say that you give a person $1,000 and they're like, and you're like, okay, so here's your $1,000. You have the month to spend them, or this is what you have for this month. Those people are going to find the spending for those $1,000. If you give them $10,000 and you're going to be like, okay, so you have that for spending this month. These people are going to be spending $10,000. They're just going to find things that they can spend on instead of trying to find ways on how to reduce spending. So every time you give governments or companies, you give them like this free money that that they can spend. They're going to spend them, and then they're going to spend in debt. Then they're going to end up in debt because they're going to spend that, and then they're going to spend a little bit over that. It's kind of like that. So if they're spending $1,000, ending up in a little bit of debt on the end, you can bet that they're going to end up in more of a debt if you give them $10,000. That's how government spending works. So yes, we should be making, big dashes and gashes in the government spending, and we should be reducing that. And I'm pretty convinced that we are still gonna have, in most fields, we're still gonna have the same things. It's just that we're gonna be spending less on all of the side loads. Maybe we're gonna be buying slightly cheaper ball pens instead of the golden ones. So next question: would you like lowering taxes in food, or do you require lowering taxes in food? Require? I don't think I require that. I do find it kind of weird that we are paying taxes like 3 times in a row. So it's less about reducing tax and more about banning tax on certain things. But with food, it sounds like a good idea, but it's not going to lower the food prices. The thing that's going to happen is that the store chains, and the cat just fucking nearly killed itself here trying to get on my lap. You need to be careful, damn it. So instead of prices lowering down, the chains that are selling food will go and say, oh, well, we had to raise the prices because, or we had to keep the prices up because the diesel is expensive. And the farmers are selling stuff to us for much higher prices. Exactly like they did, I think, this year, actually, and the last year. And the farmers are like, no, we haven't increased any prices. What are you talking about? And the chains are like, no, we're buying for higher prices. We have to go more expensive. And so certain things have gone completely through the roof in price, like, for example, butter and such. So maybe we should be doing some regulation there. We don't need to lower the tax. We need to figure out who's stealing the fucking money, okay? Next question. Is it important for you to increase the age of going to pension to 67 years? To 67 years old? No. No, absolutely not. I mean, I'm an electrician. I'm 37. And I can feel my body ache already. What the hell am I gonna be doing when I'm 67? I understand that for office people, this seems perfectly fine because office people barely move throughout the day. So they're getting nearly no wear and tear on their bodies. I have to climb roofs and ladders and grab a fucking jackhammer and make a hole in a piece of concrete. When I'm 67, I'm gonna be happy if I can get out of the fucking bed. Okay? So, I don't think that it's very viable for me, as a tradesman, to be working through that age. Of course, my country allows me to become an inspector, basically just by taking some tests. So I could do that, but I think it should be my choice whether I work past 65, because right now I think the age is 63 or 65 or something like that. And so it should be really my choice if I work through 65, if I'm capable. And I think maybe we should be also adjusting pension age by physical ability. Like, if you have a person who's at, 57, but their joints are basically gone, maybe they should go into pension sooner. And with politicians, I would not let them go to freaking pension. Stay working there forever because you came up with the idea of increasing pension age. So you know what? You don't get any fucking pension. You're rich enough. You can pay from your own pocket. Next question. Are you for mandatory, or for like a draft? What's the word for it in English? Essentially mandatory military service. Even if just for a few months. No, I'm not. A lot of people thinks that and it's very important to me. A lot of people thinks that that's going to fix our military problems. That's not going to fix our military problems. The problem is that currently, if you're in military in Czech Republic and you're like a soldier, your salary is kind of at a level of a person who works at a counter in Kaufland. So, that's that's the kind of a problem that we have here. There's just cat, get the hell out of here. You can't even stand properly. There we go. Yeah, I don't want the cat to be stomping on the keyboard because who knows what happens. I'm not seeing making being a soldier mandatory as a solution to our military problems. You have to be, the government has to be better so that the soldiers, so that the people feel like they want to serve in the military. Because if you have professional professional military, that's all people who want to be there, and they are really into it, and they really want to defend their country, and they like the military things and listening to their superior, etc. I am the opposite of that. So I don't see how the hell would I be any kind of contribution on a mandatory military service if I went to the goddamn military, because I would be useless at every single freaking field. I'm a great tradesman, right? And I can do superiors. It's just I'm not that good at it. And for that, I think there needs to be a certain specific mindset for that. And that's why, professional militaries are just better. You're not going to make it better by making military service mandatory. You're going to make it worse. Because you're going to make it worse because now you're going to have incompetent military. So you're going to be spending a lot of money on a military that is not effective, and I don't think that's necessary. You just need to improve the sort of political message that the government is giving, so that people feel like they want to serve in the military. And, that will also improve police numbers. It would improve firefighter numbers. It would improve doctor numbers, because people will be feeling more like they want to serve the country. And that's where you start. You improve the way you govern the place. Okay, next up. I'm not sure if I'm not getting louder. I hope not. The waveform looks a bit thick every now and then, so if I'm screaming, sorry, just reduce the volume. Anyway, next question. Are you for increasing the tax on alcohol and cigarettes? Absolutely. 100%. 100%. And that's a new question. So we're actually getting, I didn't see that question before, so we're getting original questions. That's fun. So, yes, I think there should be higher tax on alcohol and cigarettes, especially on cigarettes. I would ramp that sucker up to 100%. Cigarettes are completely non-essential. They're not even culturally that important and significant. And they stink. They cause cancer. People who smoke leave mess all over the place. They're addicted. We should be increasing the tax on that significantly so that they're discouraged. I used to smoke for 17 years, and when I stopped smoking, oh my goodness, my world have changed entirely. I got better job, and suddenly I've had access to all of these places that are, it's like, yeah, smokers get there, but non-smokers get there much easier. It's like the entry is much lower for a non-smoker, because you're seen as someone who's not gonna fucking stink up the place and make a mess. And most importantly, smokers often smoke, once or twice an hour. And that smoke break takes 6 minutes just to smoking itself. So going for the smoke and then returning, you can count 10 minutes. And, if your employee does this shit twice an hour, in an 8-hour shift, well, then they have been 16 times, wasting 10 minutes. That's 160 minutes that's 160 minutes of time they haven't been working. Over 2 hours. Over 2 hours these people spend doing nothing compared to non-smokers. So, if I had been an employer, I'd be like, look, sure, you can go for a smoke break, but you're going to clock off and you're going to clock back in, and I'm going to be paying you for the actual time you're working. I'm not paying you for you using drugs. So yes, higher tax on alcohol and cigarettes, because I didn't stop drinking alcohol completely, but I have reduced it quite significantly to the point where it's like a special occasion kind of a thing. And again, it's a bit of a life changer, actually. My productivity increased. I feel better in the morning. I just do much more every day. It's like, and I'm not feeling that tired. So, it's really significant change. And, I don't think we should be making this distinction of soft drugs. There should be just drugs in legal sense. And, we should be looking at drugs as drugs. They're mind-altering substances. And they are not necessarily good for us. I'm not saying that we should ban alcohol completely, because it's culturally very significant. But at the same time, it doesn't have to be something that we're using every day in large quantities. So next question. Are you for reintroduction of electronic evidence, of electronic recording, essentially, in with the business? Hang on, I have to reword it. Electronic recording of incomes with traders. No, I'm not for it. Would be middle important. I'm not for it because we've seen it. It was a failure. I don't know why people forget so fast, because we're talking about reintroducing this thing potentially. I don't understand how people forget so fast, because the last time we did that, it absolutely killed small businesses. Like those one-man operations, people selling stuff on like tops of the mountains and on tourist places, etc., where you can't freaking lug around a massive counter. And a lot of them, they were just completely shut down by this kind of a system before it got tuned a little bit. And then on the end of the day, the return wasn't even that good. So no, I don't think we should be doing that. I don't think we should be doing this electronic registry thing, because it's not helping the actual business. And we need more business if we want to run a better economy. Unfortunately, the reason why this doesn't work, of course, is because despicable people are making laws that are supposed to govern this. And when you have despicable people doing law, then you could be sure that it's not going to work well. Are you for maintaining membership of Czech Republic in European Union? Yes, I am. In general, I think we should be members. The thing that should be changing is our approach to certain EU regulations. We agree without much of resistance with everything, and I don't think that that's the best thing. There should be more debate, and we should be looking more for individuality here, because that's what actually makes Europe great, that we have a lot of individual countries with their own sort of spirit cooperating together. And I think that European Union is it's long-term sticking its nose into things that should be each individual's country's problem, like, for example, their justice system. That's our freaking thing. You don't get to put your nose into that. You're some outside entity. And in Czechia, we have a lot of bad experience with these outside entities. So I think it's not that surprising that we don't like these people. So I am for maintaining in EU, but I am for changing of the relationships and making them slightly more reserved and a bit more assertive compared to what we have right now. Because right now, we're just letting the EU to mop the floor with us, and I don't like that. Should we lower the insurance for people who care for their health and live healthy? How do you figure out whether people live healthy and care for their health? How do you figure out that the thing that they're doing is actually correct. Like, in some cases, you can, like if you have excessive alcohol drinkers or smokers or generally drug users. And by the way, now I'm starting to think that one question about cigarettes before, I just missed that. It probably wasn't original. Never mind. But now, should we be making it cheaper for the people who are living healthier to use the healthcare system? You see, here's the thing. In general, when we talk about studies on humans in terms of health, I'm finding these studies to be, funny and reliable, because there's like this health study, and then later on, it floats up to the surface that health study was actually complete bullshit, because there was like this variable that the researchers haven't been taking in. And then, of course, I've seen the smoked meats, etc., to be placed into the cancerous category based on this vast search where the test group was so incredibly large that I believe that you can have results just by accident kind of popping up. So, yeah, I'm not convinced that we have reliable enough methods to figure out if people are really living healthy, if what they're doing is actually healthy, or if we're going to figure out later it wasn't healthy at all. Maybe you can increase that for smokers, but I don't think that's going to do you good economically, because primarily what I'm seeing, smokers are from the lower classes of people, which means that they're financially in a bit more of a turmoil than everybody else. And so you're just going to be knocking down people who are already poorly on it. And sure, they should stop smoking. Clearly, we should motivate them. But should we motivate them immediately by making a mandatory payment? And also, how do you assert that somebody stopped smoking? So let's say I stopped smoking, but for 2 years, it's still pretty, 2 to 3 years, it's still pretty easy to start again, to return to it, to return to the bad habit. It's not something that threatens me now, because I have been not smoking for like 7 years or so, but or maybe more than 7 years, actually. But, how do you deal with that situation? Do you return people money if they actually stop smoking? Do you return them cash for those 3 years that they haven't smoked already? Or do you, lower their payments after those 3 years, and you're not going to be taking into account that in those 3 years they haven't been smoking? Or do you tax them sort of based on the fact that they have been ever smoking, that now their health is damaged, and so they're going to be forever paying more? It's like, I think that's something up for debate, and I don't think that you can set up cheap and reliable system to actually do this. So I think it would just add complications. And overall, I don't think it's gonna work out, I don't think you can realistically implement this into the system and make it work. Are you for renewing the supplies of oil and gas from Russia after the end of the war? Wow, well, that is a big depends. Who's gonna be in power after the war? Who won the war? Because if the Russia wins the war, then I don't want anything from them. I want them to keep isolated economically from my country. If we win, if Ukraine wins, then I guess I won't have that many problems, because Russia will be reformed and they're going to have different government. So Preliminarily, I'm gonna say no. Because I don't know who's gonna win. If Ukraine is going to win, I'm not gonna have problems with that. But if it's gonna end up in a stalemate, as it is kind of sort of right now, where Russia is still in Ukraine, or if it ends with Ukraine kind of setting down for some deal that they give piece of their ground to Russia, then no, I don't want anything from the Russians. I want them to go fuck themselves. Next. Are you for reducing the number of multi-year gymnasiums? I didn't care about gymnasiums before, and I don't care about them now. It's some type of school as far as I'm concerned. It's like supposed to be this kind of more universal education or something. I'm not sure. I don't think that I even understand the problem in this case. So I'm just gonna say no, and it's not important for me because I don't fucking care. Should we increase discounts for public transport for pensioners and students? Having my experience with pensioners being fucking insufferable, I'm not sure if I'm feeling so great about them. Considering students, I mean, I'm already paying students their school, and I'm paying pensioners their freaking pension. It's not a great pension, just so you know, but we have a lot of pensioners, not that many working people anymore. So, should we like give them discounts? Like, first of all, public transport probably should be cheaper for everybody, so that it's more obvious choice over picking a car. And even though I'm a big car driver and I like to drive, I also like to drive fast. And, driving fast is much easier when there's fewer cars on the road. So, in general, I think everybody should have cheaper. And I said no, because I don't think it should be limited to this one group. I think it should be for everybody. But ultimately, this is not very important to me. I don't see how politically this is going to somehow improve Czech Republic. I think that public transport should be cheaper for everybody, so that, again, it's more obvious choice over choosing a car, so then I can pick my car and drive like a madman while not having anybody in my fucking way. Just yesterday, we've had a road rage kind of a thing happening here on the road to the city there, where I was trying to overtake a guy, and he was very unhappy about it. He was going slow, I was overtaking, and motherfucker was not happy about it. And it's like, why are you doing that? Why are you trying to block me? It's like, do you want me to be tailgating you for freaking forever? The cat is here again. Oh my god. Do you want me to be tailgating you all the goddamn time to the city? No! Just yield! Let me go! I'm gonna pass. I'm gonna be far in front of you before you get anywhere with your stupid Passat. It was Volkswagen Passat. He tried to chase after me. And the thing that happened is I lost him in the first turn that we've been making, because these morons are incapable of taking a turn. And Volkswagen Passat in general is incapable of taking a turn. It's extremely funny because they've got the most complex suspension in the world, at least in a regular consumer car. And those things are just so hilariously unstable that you can't take turns with them at speed. It's like the whole car just starts sliding sideways. because it has a mass of a boat, and that suspension system is a complete nonsense. I remember I had a Passat. That's how I know. I used to drive a Passat, and the suspension was in an all right shape. It wasn't completely gone. In fact, the car was a little lowered by the previous owner, and so it was supposed to be a little more stable. What ended up happening is that the whole car was able to turn sharp turns at about 30-40 kilometers an hour. Then I bought an Alfa Romeo on like tall tires. It was 146, Alfa Romeo 146. If you're not aware of what Alfa Romeo 146, 5-seater, 5 doors. Well, technically 5 doors. It's like a fastback thing. And it has. I put the tallest, thinnest legal tires on that I was able to put there. In Czech Republic, we have regulations for that. So tallest, thinnest tires that were legal, and Steelies. I removed the actual alloys that were on there because they were fucking heavy, and I didn't want to be buying that type of a tire. And the car is really tall off the ground. It's kind of funny how tall it is. And I was taking the same turn that I've had trouble with at 40 kilometers an hour. I was taking at 70 kilometers an hour, no problem. So, yeah, basically doubling the speed of cornering with a car that has, on the other hand, pretty simple suspension. It's like they're simple arms, simple coilovers, and a torsion bar, and that's it. And that was cornering better than Passat. So Volkswagen can go and suck it. And now I'm driving a Fiat, which is basically it's the same manufacturer, just a different brand. That was made by, and that Fiat, funny enough, actually it's not the same manufacturer, because that Fiat was made by Suzuki, and it's branded as Fiat. It's Fiat Sedizzi. It's 4-wheel drive. It's an amazing car. It's so fun to drive. And so this thing, even though my tires are basically slicks, it's cornering like freaking crazy. Yeah, so if you want to beat Passat, in a race, just grab something that's not Volkswagen, and you're gonna win. Next question: do you agree with small towns to be forced to connect together, to like become one town? No, it's hard no. I think there's beauty in having a lot of small towns with their different governments, and you can make a choice, and we shouldn't be reducing the amount of choice that we have available. Next question: do you see migration as the greatest danger for Europe? I'm not seeing it as the greatest danger of Europe, so I'm going to put it at low importance. I'm not seeing it as the greatest danger. I'm seeing the handling of migration as the greatest danger for Europe. The fact that we're letting genuinely dangerous people with genuinely dangerous religions and beliefs waltz into Europe and sort of take root. If I had been in power, that would have been one of the first things. I would be uprooting all of these cells of aggression against our way of life. But I'm not against migration in general. I'm not against people from other places working here and adopting my culture. Like, if you want to migrate in and adopt my culture and beliefs, well, we'll come here. Come on here. Come on in. Great. Lovely. Love to have you. If you want to be one of us, like being an actual one of us, I have no problem with that, but if you're going to come from the middle of Kurdistan and you come here and you're like, oh, you people have bad religion and you're wrong because you should believe in my religion and that's better. Or, okay, maybe go back to Kurdistan and think about why Kurdistan is Kurdistan and not an ISIStan, okay? Next question. Do you believe that parliamentary democracy is exhausted and new regime is required? Or it would be nice to have a different regime? I don't believe so. I don't believe that parliamentary democracy is exhausted. I believe that we are just letting in bad people. That's the whole problem. We're just voting for assholes. That's the entire issue of our current democracy. Hang on, I'm going to have a drink. A little bit of Pepsi. So that's the entire, I think that's the entire problem of our parliamentary democracy. That I'm not even sure if parliamentary is even a word in English. It is now. But yeah, maybe I'm saying it wrong. But I don't think it's exhausted. I think it's just people are voting for these sort of reality show personalities. Instead of voting for people who are reasonable. That's the issue. It's not the problem with the existence of the system. And yes, we can make some improvements in it. Like, for example, we could reduce this sort of strategic voting by removing the barriers for going into the government. Because nowadays you have to have over 5% of population to even get into government. I don't think that should be the case. We have 200 seats there. We could split them between 200 different parties. And some people think that this would be a mess, but in reality it would actually force the parties to start cooperating on some level so that they have functioning government of some sort. And if not, there's always a wall and we have rifles available. So, it's like we could solve those issues. It's just, sometimes we have to be more rough. But yeah, I don't think the parliamentary democracy is exhausted. It just needs small tweaks and it's going to be fine. Yeah, that's, by the way, if your government appears exhausted, but we have done this defenestration thing a few times in our history, where a crowd of angry people with spears would be waiting under the windows. We'd be throwing politicians down. Maybe we can renew the tradition, because very clearly some of those politicians need this dearly, to be removed from the pool so that we have some peace. So parliamentary democracy. Not a problem. And by the way, of course, I'm not instructing you to go and throw people out of windows, okay? Just so that you understand it. This is not call to arms. So chill, alright? We first could try it with just, not violence, okay? Just vote like intelligent people. So no, parliamentary democracy is not exhausted. Do you believe, or do you agree with young people having their mortgages supported by government? No. I'm already paying for their schools. Why should I pay also for their mortgage? That sounds crazy. Because, of course, you have to realize where that money comes from, okay? And that money, of course, comes from my pocket. It comes from the pocket of the taxpayer. And so, if you're gonna pay young people's mortgages, that money has to come from somewhere, and it's going to come from the taxes, and that means the taxes are not used for something that is also important. I do believe that we need to make it easier for young people to, get housing, but, this sort of slapping money at the problem, we did that with the Roma people in the 90s, and it backfired so hard that we still have problems with it today. So, some things are not fixed by just slapping a thick stack of cash on them. You have to be actually creative and make a real solution to the issue, so that we don't end up with a ruined generation and destroyed culture, like we did with the Roma people. Unfortunately, that is going to be a thing that I think 50 years on, it's still going to be felt. There's still going to be ripples off of that. So, yeah, that was one great move that our government have done back then. Oh my God! And it was not just the 90s. They've been really tugging it through the 2000s and 2010s. Until I feel like it's relatively recently where it's sort of fizzled out. But of course, that whole thing is still in people. It's still rooted in people, and I would say that from relatively normal population, we've made a bunch of people who are unapologetically racist and would get rid of the Roma people at the first opportunity. So, yeah, you need to move a bit more carefully, I think, with this. Next question, I'm rambling. Do you believe that censorship exists in Czechia that we have to remove? Well, that's an interesting question because I'm primarily on the internets, and internets are primarily sort of the Western kind of thing, so I'm not really getting that much news from Czech Republic. I'm not that much on social networks in Czech Republic too. So I'm not sure if there exists censorship that we have to disband, although, hang on, is there a censorship? Was there a censorship? There was a censorship, so yeah, during the certain virus attack, there was censorship, and it was not working so well. In fact, there was, I would say that it kind of backfired in places. So I'm going to say that it's not extremely important to me, but yeah, censorship does exist. It appears. And we should be, here's the thing, that doesn't mean that we should let anything pop up on the social networks, but I'm more for the approach of let's attach a waiver to the content that is considered harmful, and put evidence in there, and links to studies that show that, look, this guy is full of shit. Instead of, oh, we're going to block this guy, because guess what that's going to do? That's going to only make more people thinking oh, he probably had something going, because they wouldn't censor him otherwise, right? He must have had something special. So yeah, censorship could backfire. Hang on, another drink. Okay. So, yeah, we shouldn't be shutting people up. We should be introducing more conversation and more words instead of silence. So, next question. Should Czech Republic start a special sector tax for banks? I don't know. Probably yes, but it's not that important for me. Banks in general in Czech Republic are super stable, in part because they are so rich. Should we have special sector tax for banks? I'm gonna say it's like an uncertain yes, probably maybe, because I'm pretty sure we can we can roll something out of them. By the way, there was the windfall tax on banks done. And the problem with that is that the windfall tax have managed to get about 700 million Czech crowns out of the banks, while the expected number was about 33 billion. And so that kind of speaks about the incompetence of our government, doesn't it? Because if you make an estimation on regulation and then you figure out, once you make that regulation, that you are not meeting even 1/30th of the goal, I think there was certain incompetence in play. I think there is a problem with the way you have been thinking about it and the way you've been doing calculations. And I think you should be removed at that point from your position, because very clearly you're not competent to do anything like this. Next question. Are you for disbanding of the Senate? Honestly, kind of, yeah. Because we get to vote for the government, for the main government, like every 4 years. And I'm honestly not so sure that we need another layer of approvals from the people who have been voted in like a different rhythm, by, in different conditions, where things were different. I don't think we should have that. I don't think we should be mixing it up like this. And I think we could save some cash if we do so. So I'm going to say yes, and it's going to be in the middle importance. Do you agree for Ukrainian refugees to return home and Czechia removing all help? So this is kind of a weirdly placed question. It's kind of a weirdly assembled question. So I think the kind of the question is if we should force the Ukrainian refugees to return home. And here it's like it's nuanced for me, okay? Because I do believe that Ukrainian men who are physically capable should be returning home. They should be returned home to join the front lines and join the factories and essentially support their country. Because it's very easy to, do big breasts when you don't have to be the one who's actually fighting for his own country. And I'm personally, in Czech Republic, we have a lot of Ukrainian refugees, and personally, for the past 3 years, I'm finding them increasingly more infuriating to both work with and be around. And yeah, I think we should curb their enthusiasm a bit on the man side. When it comes to women and children, I have no problem supporting them further. Those generally also, interestingly enough, tend to be a little bit better workers. But yeah, when it comes to work ethics in Ukrainians, oh my fucking god, there is a reason why I'm refusing to work with any of them. Because I'd be just constantly angry. I've had 2 so far that have managed to get sort of through the net of refusal to me, that have been working under me directly, and both of them have been a complete failure, to the point where, despite the fact that I've tried to be very patient with them, I tried to explain everything, these people still messed up anyways. Then did some extra work by which they have made more damage than before. And it's not a language issue. Okay, people are like, oh, they don't understand you. Look, I have drawn a line on the wall, not just line, but in fact crosses, specifically where certain things should be installed. And Bastard missed all of them. All of them. Every single one. That's just purified incompetence, okay? Or just not giving a damn. And I've noted both of these. It's either these people are either not competent or not giving enough damn, or they're just trying to somehow swiftly shorten up the work and make a quick work of it, and then and then not really then not really work anymore. But you could be hella sure that they're going to write every single minute that they're at work, despite the fact that they're not working throughout the whole time. I'm going to tell you a little bit of an anecdote here, actually, that have happened to me. And it's funny because it wasn't me who figured it out. It was my colleague who pointed it out, and I started noticing that afterward. We've had this crew of Ukrainians, like, digging holes, trenches. And we've had a group of Ramalas, gypsies, digging trenches. And the difference, I have noticed the difference in their power output, obviously, because it was like the Ramalas have managed to dig 200 meters of trench that was deep enough for me to hide in it. And in horrible conditions. It was like stones, and there was also some sand, but stones, concrete, pipes, the cables, and you're not allowed to damage the pipes and cables. And the crazy thing about that is that the Ramalas have actually done an incredible job. They've done 200 meters of that where I can hide. And because of the rainy conditions, they had to actually do it multiple times, and they still did it over a weekend. From the Ukrainians, we couldn't get this kind of power output in 2 months. And it's funny because these Ramalas actually had some Ukrainians there also. The Ukrainians that they've had for help have ended up in hospital after first day because they have been unable to keep up. So if you're gonna ask me, hey, who would you like to work with? Is it gonna be some Roma people or is it gonna be some Ukrainians? I'm taking Roma every fucking day, every day, all day. Give me more of them. I'm not a racist person. I don't care if they're a different color. I need them to have good work output. And by the way, that anecdote. I didn't even get to that. So the reason why it takes 2 months for the Ukrainians to do the same amount of work is because they are really good at pretending to work. And I have started noticing that after a colleague had warned me about it. There was this one guy, it wasn't just the work of this one guy. It's like every time we stopped looking, all right, every time you stop looking, people stop working. And you figure that out by pretending not to look. But actually you are. So we had this one guy, and he was walking a lot. And he would start at the car where they had stuff, grab a tool, have a smoke, walk those 200 meters past the whole freaking building site, and there he would set the tool down, have another smoke, have a little chat with his colleague, pick up another tool, put it on his shoulder with great purpose. He would march back to the car, put that tool in the car, have a smoke, pick up a different tool, throw it over his shoulder, and with great purpose, again, he looked so good while walking. Oh my God, he looked so good. When he was marching, he would be so good marcher on the battlefield. But he was looking so good when he was marching with that tool, and he was marching back with that purpose in his walk. And I've noticed that this guy was doing this like the entire day. He filled 8 hours with smoke breaks and walking. It was absolutely hilarious. And, we called them out, and I eventually quit the company. I was like, look, if you're gonna make me work with these people, I might as well not be here, because I'm a perfectionist. And guys like, what's a perfectionist? And that's when I knew I can't work for this company, because if it was like the cousin of the owner, and he's like, what's a perfectionist? And I thought he's making fun of me because he didn't know what a perfectionist means. And at that point, you're working with low IQ people. But look, if you're gonna make me work with Ukrainians, don't expect me to work in your company, because I just can't get these. I just can't get these people. I just can't get these people working under me. I don't want to see them. I don't want to look at them. If you want to suffer with them, that's entirely your own problem. But I have my experience with these people, and I don't like them. I do believe that they should have their own country. I do believe that they should be in their own country. I don't think they should be taken over by the Russians. In fact, I want Russians to lose specifically because I don't want Ukrainians in my country. Okay? Exactly because of the reasons that I have talked about, because their culture just doesn't align with my views of good people. And so I want them to be in their country, I want them to be free in their own country, and I want them as far away from me as possible. And for that, we need to beat Russia so that the Ukrainians can return all back home. Anyway, do I believe that the Ukrainians should be sent back home? I'm going to say yes, but with a low priority, because there's a nuance to that. Again, women, children, I don't think they should be in a war zone. Yes, I am one of those people who are like, yes, we should be protecting our women. I'm not anti-feminist per se, but I do have some reservations to that extreme feminism of today. Still, I mean, you're gaining because you get more protection if you're a girl, so I don't know. It's like, it's a matter of priorities, I guess. Should we increase punishments for corruptions? Yes, absolutely. There's a wall, there's a rifle, there's a bullet. It's cheap, it's fast. Go for it. Do you support equal marriage for homosexual pairs, including all rights, naming and adoption of children? What? Podporujete rovnocenné manželství pro homosexuální páry, včetně všech práv, názvu i adopcí dětí. Okay, this is somebody in Seznam Zprávy had a stroke, because that's not how you formulate that. I get it now. That's not how you formulate that sentence. Okay, so I think they mean marriage name, naming the marriage for gay people. And to me, honestly, I'm an atheist man. I do not care for marriage in the same way as Christians do. So if it's for homosexuals or if it's for straight pairs, I don't care. It's like, for me, it's just to me, it's just sort of a office formality, really. When it comes to when it comes to naming of the whole thing, whatever. Do I agree with homosexual pairs to be able to marry? Well, it comes with certain rights and certain consequences. For example, you could, if you're married, you are first in line for the inheritance of your partner. So that's kind of an important thing. That's kind of an important that's kind of an important thing, and it's also about permission to about permission to go to the hospital for them, like actually, visiting them. So visitations in hospital, definitely important thing. And when it comes to adopting children, a lot of people feel this as controversial. I would say that being raised by a homosexual pair is much better than being raised in an orphanage. So I wouldn't be against that. Of course, certain checking and certain security should be involved in this. But I think it's for all adoptions where we should be checking in on the children, seeing whether they're doing good or bad, if they're not being abused, they're not being used for sexual trafficking, etc. So, I think we should allow that. I think for children it's better to be raised by a homosexual pair than to be raised by an orphanage. And overall, so for the kids, it's probably going to be an improvement in life, not a detriment. Maybe we could be limiting the lower end of age for adoption. Maybe not totally, tiny little toddlers, but I'm not sure about that statement. Maybe from 4 years up or 3 years up when children are, maybe 3 years up when children are in this formative stage and they're developing their language, etc. I think that's roughly where it would be absolutely no problem for a homosexual pair to have these children in their care. Because we know that homosexuality is not contagious. You could be wrong about your sexuality. I was wrong about my sexuality. I thought that I'm gay at a certain point, and then I figured out that I'm actually straight and just a weirdo. It's even though you could be wrong, in general, you're going to figure out whether you're wrong or not over time, because certain things just don't click. So I think it's fine. Middle importance. I have no problem with homosexual pairs adopting. Do you believe in maintaining Czech Republic in NATO? Yes, in general. Even though, technically, if we leave NATO, on a technical side, there's no damn difference. Because we're living in the middle of a continent where almost everybody is in NATO. On a technical side, it might be actually sort of better for us not being in NATO. Because it would kind of insulate us from certain NATO excursions that the Americans did, like with Afghanistan when they've been asking their NATO friends to go, or Yugoslavia when NATO have got their hands dirty, all of the NATO have got their hands dirty with a conflict that maybe have gotten bloodier because of them, because of course we have been bombing the living fuck out of civilians. Why not? Because every war is bombing civilians. It's just that, the sides change and the reporting changes. But, stuff like that might improve for us. But hey, you never know. Maybe Germany is going to go crazy again, and then we're going to need the entire damn NATO to help us out. So, don't leave NATO. NATO has purpose, especially with Russia looming on the horizon. Because here's the thing, if for example, Slovakia decides to secede from NATO and we're not in NATO, well then suddenly we have this stream where you can have enemies from the east flooding into our country. So stay in NATO. You never know when you're going to need it. Next question. Should the citizens of Russia living in Czech Republic pay higher taxes from their income and from their property than Czech citizens? Depends. Why are they in my country? Are they in my country because they disagree with the politics of Russia and they want to be protected from the influence of Vladimir Putin? Well, in that case, I don't think that they should be paying higher taxes. Because why would we punish them for disagreeing with our enemies? On the other hand, if you have Russians who technically agree with Putler and his weird politics of modern Russia, then maybe we could tax them harder. But how are you going to make that distinction unless these people are really loud about it? Again, I don't think that you could implement this. Or is it again? Or did I? Yeah, because I don't think you could implement this at an effective level. So it's like, sure, it sounds great on paper, but how do you implement that? I don't think you can easily do that. So no, middle importance. Would you welcome the possibility of legally paying up for above standard or higher quality care? I do believe this is a question about healthcare. They're like, you guys in Seznam Správy, you really need to improve your speech. Like get more points on speech, because this is like, those are such wooden questions. Did you use AI to write them and didn't even check after it? I'm not against use of AI. I actually kind of like AI, but you really need to put more care into using it. Anyway, should this be a thing? So here's the thing. In Czech Republic, for those unaware, we have public health care. What that means is that healthcare is regulated by the state and everybody must pay their insurance on that. So we have mandatory payments on healthcare and on social support. And, I'm getting a little hungry. So we have mandatory payments in these fields. And the reason why that's important is that it actually helps out a lot of people who otherwise wouldn't be capable of getting healthcare. They are gonna get healthcare because despite the fact that they themselves, first of all, the whole thing is so ingrained into the system that you're all already counting with the fact that you're not going to have this kind of money on your hands straight up. So when you're asking for how much money are you going to be getting from your employer, when you're asking for a wage, you're already sort of counting in the fact that you have to pay for healthcare. So that's actually a really good system. I think we surpass Americans in this by 1,000 miles. Or 1,600 kilometers for those who can't count in kilometers. For those who can't count in miles. It doesn't matter. Oh, well, it kind of does. Metric system is better. But in terms of, it's funny because metric system, it was invented by French, and it really shows, because in English it sounds like complete garbage, right? Miles, inches, that's just ingrained in the language, and it just rolls off the tongue. It's like, so going that last mile, or going that extra mile, sorry, not that last mile, going that extra mile just sounds so much better than going that extra kilometer. Not to mention, kilometer is less than a mile, so you're doing less. But that's not the point. The point is, it just doesn't roll off the tongue. Where were we? Right. So legal payments. Hang on, I think I didn't finish the explanation there. Oh, right. So, and I forgot where I was. So let's start it over because I don't want to be stopping the recording. So we have mandatory payments. And that means, the public system gets funded by everybody. Even so, our healthcare is not that great. It's not terrible, but it's not that great either. It's definitely, and by the way, our dentists are not part of that system. So, they're kind of partially part of that system, but the insurance companies are actually not covering that much from their care. So, my wonder is why teeth are not considered part of healthcare, despite the fact that they're extremely important for your brain health and for your heart health. But that's sort of besides the point. So we already have a system that is not perfectly good, and it's kind of behaving like it's underfunded. And now they would like to involve extra payment for better care. And there I have to start asking. What would the standard care look like then? And what would be their better care? That's the first question. And second question is, are you out of your fucking mind? If you want to pay up for better care, you go to a private clinic. That is not part of the public system. Because what this will do, ultimately, is that it will cause hospitals to reserve personnel and power for this higher grade care. And for the regular people who can't afford this, there will be fewer professionals, there will be fewer nurses, fewer doctors, and less space on machinery, which already is abysmal. You wait for months to get an MRI, or at least as far as I know, because my colleague just so happens to have hip issues, and so his hip bone is not so happy, and it's months long process to get to that operation. I think that his first operation, he was what was it, 2 years before he actually freaking got it? So the system is already pretty low quality, and now I should be encouraging lower quality in one part so that other people can get better care. I don't think that would be fair. I don't think that belongs in the public healthcare system. If you want above standard care, go to a private clinic, pay up. Okay? So, no such things in public healthcare system that is paid for by everybody. You don't get to have extras on my account. So, that would be no. And next question. Should we reduce our current network of hospitals of emergency care in favor of how do I translate this? In long-term care? So let me get this straight. So if we reduce the emergency care, and I'm in a car accident, and I just so happen to require emergency care, then instead of being driven to the hospital that's 20 minutes away, I may have to be driven to the hospital that's 40 minutes away because we don't have enough of these in the system. And I think from this comment you understand how fucking stupid of an idea that is. So no, we shouldn't be reducing the emergency care. In fact, we should have more emergency care beds, because long-term care, sure, important, but a lot of it can be done at home in bed. Whereas, I don't think you can do like a freaking brain operation in my bedroom. Okay? So that's the kind of a thing that I'm gonna comment on. So no, we're not gonna be reducing anything that's very important to me. Next question. Are you for maintaining concession payments for Czech television and Czech radio? Absolutely fucking not. I have been looking at their spending, and I'm not sure if it was in 2024 or 2023. The Czech radio have consumed about 8 billion Czech crowns, which is even more than what we're paying on those concession payments, by the way. So not only they are expensive, but they are unable to even keep within their own budget. Not sure where they've got the rest of the money. And if you compare that to the budget of every single other radio that is in Czech Republic, okay, all other radio stations that operate in Czech Republic, every single one, do not reach altogether in their spending 1 billion Czech crowns. While Czech radio reaches 8 billion. So that's so that's part of number one of an issue. Also, the argument here. So by the way, it's I'm not sure if I've made that argument before, but it's like basically if you increase their budget, okay, if we're increasing their budget, we're not incentivizing lower spending or better spending. Because they're always going to find ways on how to spend that cash, and then a little bit extra over that. They're always going to find ways on how to spend it. This does not support savings. If you give a man $1,000 a month, that man is going to try to figure out how to be inside of the budget of those $1,000 a month. If you give that same man a raise to $10,000 a month, that doesn't mean that now he has $9,000 of extra. Most likely that man will figure out how to spend those extra $9,000. That's my experience with people. They're not gonna inherently be better at saving. They're going to, and even with me, I've got a raise, and I know why I was asking for a raise, so I already knew that I'm going to be spending more. But even with me, I'm also spending more if I have more. So it's not like it's not like adding more money into the system is going to make them create better content or be more reliable. I mean, they're already pretty abysmal reporters, I would say, in my opinion. They've done a horrible job during the virus. And they're not doing very job during Ukraine thing, etc. So my opinion is that these institutions, these quote unquote public television, public radio, which is hilarious because they're spending but them being paid at all is being regulated by the government. So they are not public institutions because the government is regulating how much they're being paid. Okay? So the government can also decide not to pay them. And that means they're not a public institution, they're a state institution because they can be driven to make certain type of news based on what government is there so that government doesn't cut their budget. I think we understand each other now. Okay? So they're not really public media, but even so, I think their main goal should be education, not stupid TV series that they're funding. So main goal should be education and news. Objective news and objective education when they're going to be getting some of the best creators and make some of the best education. And I think it was on one of the Czech television channels when I've seen basically sort of a derivative of that ancient alien shit from History Channel. I think it was, I can't speak for certain, which, you know, is kind of crazy. It shouldn't even exist. I don't think they're so precious for us to be here. And most important, right now, because they're not doing that job that I think they should be doing. And, by the way, this year or last year, I think it was this year, the government have decided that everyone, all right, how are the payments tied, okay? So the payment used to be tied to the fact where you own or use television or radio. So if you didn't have a radio or a television, you don't pay anything because clearly you're not consuming. Today, the law was changed so that anyone who has any device that can receive that broadcast, that means be it a laptop or a cell phone, because you have internet. We have been basically punished for the fact that we have access to the internet by payments, monthly payments, in a time when we already are financially strained. We have been kicked in the balls, and we have been given new payment to pay. And that payment, by the way, was raised because why the hell not? Why would we incentivize better spending, right? Instead, we're going to make more spending. That's why I was talking about those $1,000 versus $10,000. Because we have actually increased the payments. And this is one of the reasons why I'm not voting for anyone from the current government. Because they have fucked me over. Just basically punished me, despite the fact that I'm not consuming Czech television or Czech radio on any kind of regular basis. It's more or less if I'm at my mother's place where I get to see the trash that they're actually sending in. I don't think I should be forced to pay for that, and yet I have been kicked in the balls and screwed over by the government. So, no, I don't think we should be paying for that. I think it should be, if they want to be really public radio and public television, maybe they should be looking for some way to get actual public funds and not something that's done mandatory by the government. And you're going to see that they're going to fold pretty quickly because nobody cares about them. Do you believe in inclusion in Czech school system, with maintaining inclusion in Czech school system? Okay, so this is beautiful. It's made to sound so good. It's inclusion. I'm getting closer to the microphone. It must be incredibly uncomfortable to be here with me. Okay, I'm going to get a little further here. Okay, so do you believe in maintaining inclusion in Czech school system? Okay, so it sounds so great, right? Inclusion. It sounds so nice. I'm going to tell you what it actually means, okay? So what that means is that we're no longer going to have special schools, okay? And instead of having special schools for children with learning disability, we're gonna have these children to be mixed in with the rest of the class in regular school. And the reason for that, and again, it's like this leftist activist kind of talk. It's beautiful how they make it sound. They make it sound like such a good thing because they tell you, well, it's because we would like equal opportunity. Okay, equal opportunity. Okay, so basically, they're making equal opportunity so that you're going to have a bunch of children and there's a tree that they're supposed to climb, okay? But some of those children don't have arms. And the teachers are now supposed to help the children with no arms to climb the tree along with the children that climb the tree with their own hands. Instead of having a special setup where around the tree there is a ramp that they can just walk up, the teachers are going to be dragging them up So I hope that's a good comparison. So more or less, you're sending disabled children, if I'm going to say it this way, you're sending disabled children into regular class, and somehow you're supporting them so that they actually make it through that regular class, which means that they're going to be slowing down the other children. They are going to have trash time actually going through that education. And we've had this problem before. All right, we've had this problem before. I think I have mentioned Roma people before. We've had an issue with that because their parents have spent all of their social support money on alcohol and drugs, and fundamentally have decided that caring for children is below them. And so we've had a lot of black children in schools with absolutely horrible behavior. And we had to move them to special schools because it was basically impossible to run the class with them in class because their parents just didn't care. So basically we have that with everyone, with all sorts of disabled children who are all sorts of slow and unable, and they need care and they need assistance next to them. I don't think that it's a good system to run, because it's going to be slowing down the main class that doesn't have any issues. It's going to be slowed down by these people that are disabled. And the disabled people are just going to have a terrible time because they have to be a burden and a freaking anchor that everybody has to drag behind themselves. And I'm pretty sure that they're going to be reminded of that by the rest of the kids all the goddamn time. So I don't think it's a good idea. I think for special children, we should have special schools so that they can have good development, good chances in later life, and so that they have actual good, high-quality education. And so that everyone else isn't burdened by their disabilities. And so that also the disabled children are not burdened by their own disabilities. Okay? So, no, I don't think it's a good idea. Are you for active euthanasia that is, in some cases, right for assisted suicide? Yes, in general. I think if you can be born without consent, then you should at least have the ability to give consent to die, to just stop living. Especially for cases that are in pain, there is no clear, there's no obvious cure for their condition. Maybe they are very old, for which we absolutely don't have a cure, and they might be in pain and suffering, and it's not going to get better. Then yes, we should allow these people to stop suffering. Just, stop living, fall asleep painlessly, and stop living. We should allow them to do it. We should allow people to end it in a dignified way. Next question. Would you ban the 9th grade of grade school? Why? I don't understand. I think maybe I have missed like a topic or something. Is that like a thing? Are we trying to shorten the school to 7 grades? 8 grades. I don't understand why. I mean, if you're going to be shortening the school, then why just 1 grade? Why not 2 grades? Why not shorten it down to 7? Here's the thing. We're going to school at about 6 years old, if I remember well. So by the time you're out of the 9th grade, you are 15 years old. Which, in my opinion, is kind of a good thing, because when you then go to the middle school that has 3-year study, you end up finishing the middle school when you're 18 years old. And so you can immediately go and start having a job. If we're going to shorten the school on the top end down to 8 grades, and we're going to still start from 6 years old, then I'm very good at talking, I know. You're going to get out of school when you're 14. And so you finish 3 years in a studying, and after those 3 years of study, you're 17. And I think at 17 you legally can't have a job here. So what are you going to be doing for the whole bloody year, other than being a freaking burden? I think it's unthought through, unless it's trying to compensate for the little bit of dementia that was created by the latest generation of children that have learning disabilities pretty much from the get-go, because their parents couldn't be bothered to raise them and instead give them a phone, and now these kids at 7 years old don't talk. In which case, I don't think, what if we're raising it from the bottom up? So what if we're sending children to school later? And my opinion on that is pull your head out of your ass and start caring for your children, okay? You have to have them, now care for them. So I don't see a reason for disbanding 9th grade, unless, of course, we're going to lower the amount of things that we're teaching at schools. I remember myself that I went through, how much was it, 12 years of studies? And then, after those 12 years of studies, I got a job, and I have realized that 99% of everything that I have learned in school is useless. Mostly the math part was useless. It's just, I've never used most of the math that I have learned in school for the rest of my life. So here's the thing. If we're going to adjust the system so that children from 15 years old or 14 years old can have a job legally, of course with some regulations, because we don't want to work them to death before they're even adults. But if we can legally have teenagers have jobs where they can make their own money, which, maybe even a part-time after-school job where they're going to go and earn actual cash and learn to work with it, which would be very beneficial for them when they turn 18, because now they're going to have a normal job and normal income, and they're already going to know how to handle money. I think that would be very beneficial for them. But at the same time, it shouldn't be a mandatory thing, in my opinion. But if we're gonna have a system like that, then screw it. Why even? And when we're gonna reduce education in grade school to really important stuff, so the basic math, the reading, the economy, the physics, the chemistry, the geometry. If we're going to shorten it down to that, and of course history, so that people know where they come from, and a bit of geography, not that I would find that extremely useful in my life, but it's good to know that Africa is a continent and not a country. But if we reduce that, maybe we could shrink the whole school system, not down to 8 years, but maybe we could shrink it down to 6 years. And we could let people start being successful and have money much earlier in their life, like it used to be. Again, those were different times when 12 years old children have been working. So yeah, if we can have them have part-time jobs, to contribute to their to basically have their own account and do their own economy. Yeah, sure. Let's shorten the school and let's start making kids productive earlier. After all, some of the greatest minds in history have come from the time when children have been expected to work since they're 12. So clearly that didn't hinder our progress. So maybe if we're gonna adjust everything to that, then yeah, we can shorten the school even more. Put just the more important stuff in there and kick out everything else. We have internets. I mean, I have learned most of the stuff that I know nowadays that is like the general knowledge around the world. I have learned most of it from the internet. So, and from enthusiasts on YouTube who actually dissected and sort of pre-chewed the content. So it's like more digestible for me. It sounds horrible. It's like birds. Anyway. So yeah, of course, if we're going to allow children to work, in well-regulated jobs, obviously, then maybe we can shorten the school and they can start being productive much earlier. Their parents will have less load on them financially, and everything would be maybe a little bit better. Who knows? Next question: should we work on complete ban of Green Deal? I don't think we should be banning Green Deal completely. But I'm gonna put like yes on a low importance, because those questions are like really one-sided, really hard. They're like really hard set into either you do this or you do that. It's like completely black and white. But realistically, we have done a lot of good things with ecological regulation. We have managed to stop acid rains. We have improved the air in cities significantly. We have reduced NOx emissions significantly. So we have done, it's like today, if I drive behind a car that doesn't have a catalytic converter or behind a bike, I'm trying to overtake them as fast as possible because they fucking stink. It's horrible how bad the engines were smelling back then. I think people are forgetting that. So they're like, oh yeah, let's ban it all. Let's ban all the regulations. No, don't ban all regulation. Okay? Be moderate about it. I consider myself politically a centrist. Alright? Don't ban good things entirely. Just regulate them so that they still have the workings that they need to have while they're not fucking our economy in the ass. Okay? It's like, be moderate about things. So, complete disbandment of Green Deal, maybe, but it should be replaced with something else, something that's more moderate, something that is reasonable, and not something that's going to destroy the lower classes of the population. And in case you think that damage to the lower classes of population is not happening, think again, because I have access to the people from the lower classes. We are housing them. And this Green Deal stuff causes them a lot of damage financially. It's very difficult for them to live now because of some of these regulations. Next question. Should we put higher taxes on empty apartments and investment apartments? No. It's a hard no. Because how do you classify that? I have a house that is technically empty. But it's empty because it's kind of inhabitable, but it's more or less a building site. But it has a number, it's legally a house. Does that count as something that should be taxed higher? I don't think it is, because nobody can live there, at least in some reasonable hygiene conditions. So I don't think it would be good for anyone to increase tax on empty apartments, because many of those empty apartments are empty for a reason. And houses, etc. For example, my colleague from work, who works at our restaurant, we have also a restaurant, aside from other things, he is living in that restaurant because he's going to sleep very late, and he gotta be present for whatever emergency, and he's waking up, well, not very early, he's waking up like 8 o'clock in the morning on a good day, but he gotta be there. Okay, so he's got to get some sleep in while he goes to sleep late at night. And so traveling into his apartment would be very difficult. So he's using that apartment for storing his things. And, he and his family, they live in the restaurant. They have all their stuff there. So should we tax him because he got a job? I don't think that's a good thing to do. When it comes to investment apartments, you see, the reason why they're empty probably would be because being a landlord nowadays is not that easy, due to regulation that mainly supports the tenant and not necessarily the landlord. A lot of people would just leave their apartment empty because having a tenant is just too much of a danger. It could be very hard to get rid of them if you don't want them there for some reason, like them being noisy or destroying the place. It's very hard to get rid of them. You could get tangled in a lot of legal problems, in a lot of legal tangles. So, should you tax more investment and empty apartments? I don't think so. Because there's a reason why they're empty, and it's not necessarily, because here's the thing, investment apartment can make you more money if you house people in it, but that housing of people in there must be worth it enough so that you'll go and actually go through the hassle of having people in your property. So that's the kind of an opinion that I have on that. When it comes to general taxing of property, in Czech Republic we have very low property taxes. So maybe we could raise property taxes a bit more, not a lot more. And we're gonna have much bigger income, because there's another thing. Those investment and empty apartments are not going to bring you the kind of income into the economy that you think they're going to bring you. It's the same thing as trying to tax the rich. There isn't that many rich people. There isn't that many investment and empty apartments. Okay? There definitely isn't enough to cover the need for new apartments. So what you're going to get is diminishing returns for a lot of paperwork that you have to do. Same with trying to tax the rich people. Okay, you tax the rich people more. The super rich still slip through because technically they don't have income. Okay? Because they know how to get through the legal hoops around that. And the kind of rich people, which means your middle class and your working class, get absolutely screwed over by that. But on the end of the day, the return from that is not that good, because the actual rich people are either going to get around that, or you're going to hit that part that just isn't that numerous, which means that the returns are minimal. There is barely anything that you're gaining by that. So no. Should state regulate social networks for spreading disinformation? No. Because look, we've tried that in I mean, first of all, there already is censorship in social networks by European Union, as far as I'm aware. The rules of European Union kind of force censorship. And the investors are also forcing censorship because, dangerous content is not good for their investments necessarily. This is where Twitter, while being absolutely crazy, is one of those places that just lets you say crazy shit, and now we all know that you're crazy, and that's good. I don't think we should be censoring everything. What we should do, maybe, we could add like a tag to a thing that is considered, wrong or disinformation. We can put a tag there and say, and like link evidence that it's wrong. Link evidence that this tweet or this Facebook post is wrong, and you can have a robot do that, okay? And you can have that even in like red, but don't block the thing. So because I know what regulation actually means in political terms. It means blocking it, okay? So regulation, like if regulation is adding a tag, sure, but I know what they actually mean. They mean silencing them. And that's why I hate YouTube, for example, because they're shadow banning people by just silencing them. And it's visible because they don't have full control over the algorithm of YouTube, because it's a very old piece of algorithm. And so you see that the counter for the comments have gone up. And it stays up because the comment is there. But it's shadow banned. Google have just hid it from you, so you kind of don't see it, but the counter have registered it, and it knows that it's there. And it happens, look, it happened to me, it happened to other people, and even repeated commenting didn't help. It's like shadow ban after shadow ban. This is not how we should be treating free speech, okay? Free speech should be free speech. You should be allowed to say stupid things on the internet, because that's true free speech. That's, for example, why I like Reddit, because despite the fact that, yes, you have some regulation there, at least you get to speak with real people, and you get to say words like shit and piss and cunt, and it goes through. And everybody gets to see now that your mouth is dirty. But you get to talk, and they get to argue with you, these people, and they get to tell you, hey, you're wrong, here's the evidence, and now you can learn. I firmly disagree with any censorship nowadays. I used to be for it, but I firmly disagree with any censorship nowadays. We should be more effective at saying the truth so that the misinformation doesn't have strength. Next, are you for legalizing soft drugs? First of all, I don't think there are soft drugs. Okay? There's just drugs. And some of them, yes, some of them fuck you up more, some of them fuck you up less, but ultimately all drugs are addictive, including marijuana. I found it completely laughable when people were telling me, oh, marijuana is not addictive. Bitch, I was smoking marijuana. It's addictive. Okay? I used to smoke it. So, I know what it does. It's not a soft drug, first of all. If you get a good model, you could lose a few hours of your evening just not knowing what the fuck happened, and that's not right. But also, cigarettes, alcohol, they're all drugs. They're all damaging for you. Why make that distinction of soft drug and hard drug? Hard drugs. Like, yeah, I know cocaine is pretty hard drug, but, marijuana, again, it kind of gets you slowly. I've seen so many people just ruined by smoking marijuana, and they're not ruined in the sense like meth heads where they have like that horrible skin and the 1,000-mile stare, and the crazy teeth, etc. But they're just Slow down. They stink. By the way, marijuana stinks. I don't know why anyone wants it anywhere near them. It's such a terrible fucking smell. And these people are just, they're just like out of their freaking mind, but slowly. You know, it's just, they're just dull. Kind of like a knife that you've tried to cut a stone with, and now it's still a knife, but it doesn't have an edge. So that's kind of marijuana smokers, marijuana users, to me. And some people like to say, and by the way, legalizing soft drugs for recreational purposes specifically, okay? So medical purposes, I mean, if there's medical purpose, sure. But there is a reason why traditional medicine is not considered real medicine. Because yes, you can have actual helpful chemicals in herbs that will start the healing process. You know, some of them could be antibiotics even, I think, or anti-inflammatory. The problem with traditional medicine is simply in the fact that those herbs also contain other things that are not medically helpful for you, and specifically marijuana is one of them. Okay? So, yes, marijuana does contain THC, but then it does contain the other thing. I don't remember exactly the name of it, which could cause you, actually, if I'm aware, it could cause you psychosis. And actually, the stronger the model, the more of that shit is in there. So it's like, sure, it could be used medically, but you probably, if you want it really to be medically good for you, you probably want it nicely separated in a machine and distilled so that you get only the good stuff and you don't get the bad stuff, because yes, traditional medicine could kill you if you're using herbs without distillation, etc., because they can contain chemicals, aside from the helpful ones, they can contain chemicals that are completely throw off, say, for example, your heartbeat, or your blood pressure, or the functioning of your liver or something, and then it's going to freaking kill you. So, no, I'm not for legalizing that, and I'm very much against that. I don't think we should be legalizing more drugs. We already have cigarettes, we already have alcohol. They're enough of a problem of their own. Why on earth would we be introducing more of a problem into the system than we already have? There is just no need for that. Next, 39th question out of 40. Do you see Russia and China mostly as partners with which we should be trading? No, absolutely fucking not. Russia specifically is literally at war with the Western world, like with the Western values, which is manifested in attack on Ukraine. They're literally at war. I mean, the attack was more or less power grab by Putin, but then they have rebranded it as this war against the Western culture. In general, Russia and China are just, they are opponents to the Western way of life, which I'm part of. And so I'm not seeing them as partners. They're enemies. If anything, they're enemies of our way of life. And I think we should be pulling manufacturing back out of China, because they have got way too brave with their military, and they're very clearly preparing for offensive actions. So we should be curbing that before anything goes more wrong than it has currently gone. I mean, just recently we've had that attack on the Filipino Coast Guard ship, during which hilariously 2 Chinese ships got damaged. But had those absolute morons actually met, they would have sank they would have sunk the Filipino ship. Right? That's one thing that's one thing that I don't think we're actually taking seriously enough. These people have been trying to crush a ship between themselves so that it would sink. That shit should not be allowed It should not be left without notice. Anyway, they're not partners, they're enemies. Next. Do you believe that starting a state building company, so like for building houses, would solve the lack of apartments and lower their price? No. I don't think that would have helped. Because we know that the communists have built panel houses in very large quantity, and that have been helping people getting apartments. And I do believe we should be building more panel houses. But you don't need a state company for that. All right? And I have my own political opinion on that, because I do believe that states should have some companies under itself, mainly for training apprentices and sort of, and on the side there will be like a product that actually happens, but this would be more for training apprentices and getting people from lower social classes that didn't get education, etc., to do something so that they have a job. But in general, I don't think I don't think it would be beneficial to. I don't think it would be beneficial to like the amount of apartments that we have available. What we have to do is to do easier zoning practices, less restricted areas. Because look, I wanted to build a house, right, on one of my properties. I have like multiple properties in one location, and I wanted to build a house there. And I was politely told that I'm not going to be building fucking anything there because there's like an orchid living there, and it's protected. It's in town. It's not like somewhere out in the forest. It's in town. So there's a property in town next to a road, next to an access road, next to a power line, okay, next to a water line that you cannot build anything on because there is a fucking orchid living there. And the whole place is a swamp, which the orchid likes. You are not allowed to touch the water properties of the place. You're not allowed to even cut grass out of certain rhythm. So you can't build anything there. I was planning on building actually 2 tiny house units that I would then rent to people, and it would be like an extra income that would allow me more to focus on fixing my own house, and with that I could then let someone rent my apartment that I'm living in right now, which means that I would have like 3 extra incomes, and hypothetically that would allow me to start focusing more on this sort of building process of buying more property and building living spaces for people and letting them rent those places, and I would have an income off of that, and overall life is going to be good. People are going to have apartments. There's going to be no shortage. But fuck you, Pegasus Killer, because the state said this orchid is protected. You're not going to build fucking anything there. Your investment is useless. Go fuck yourself. And that's why we have low amount of apartment. It's not because we don't have like a state building company. It's because we do not have zoning for new houses and new apartment buildings. Okay? We need to zone more areas for housing. And then we're gonna have actual living spaces. Okay? If you're gonna put a protected zone in the middle of a fucking town, right next to power line, right next to the road, right next to the water line, there's no sewer line. Everybody gets to have their own separate filtration system for gray water. But yeah, if you do that, then you couldn't be surprised that there are no fucking apartments, okay? That's that. It would have been that easy for me because I am a creator. I build shit. It would be so easy for me to slightly reduce the problem of having not enough housing, but I can't. I can't because the property I own, pretty large property by the way, the property I own is useless. It was made useless for an orchid that isn't even a keystone species for anything. It's a useless fucking plant that, according to my neighbors, grows all over the goddamn place. But on my property, unfortunately, because it's next to the road, some asshole have noticed it and reported it. So I don't get to use my own property. That's amazing. I can't even cut grass there legally. Like, I can do it like once a year. Amazing. So yeah, that would be that. We don't need a state building company. We need better zoning laws. We need better handling of building permissions. We just need to make it easier for people to build on their own fucking piece of land that they have bought. That will be all for me. It's the end of the questionnaire. And I'm supposed to vote for pirates. And ladies and gentlemen, that's not gonna fucking happen. What do you think I am, crazy? So pirates, in case you didn't know, pirates have been the ones who actually fucked up the system in... the pirates have been actually the ones who fucked up the building permission system. It's like the whole formula for that have become electronic under them. And they have screwed it up. It was absolutely non-functional. Basically, an entire year worth of building permissions pretty much didn't happen because of them. Because they have just messed up the system so hard. And even now, as far as I'm aware, it's still not 100% functional. I'm just ignoring it. I'm just doing things on my own without them. Which is not entirely, it's not entirely by the book, but fuck the book. I need a roof so that my house isn't wet. Can't wait for 5 months for permission in order to stop a leak in my roof. Okay, so pirates, absolutely not going to happen. And post-production Pegaskiller here. So I was gonna basically break down each party and, how much I'm not in sync with them, but I don't think I have to ramble about that for that long, because I really went rambling and, that was not exactly ideal. But if I'm gonna summarize it, okay, let me open that window here. Actually, you're actually looking at the old footage. I just changed the sound. So, when it comes to pirates, as I said, they have messed up the current system. So they're not getting another chance from me. SPD is kind of a racist central. They are building on fear of immigration and racism. Stan, I consider them to be EU ass climbers, so not in favor with me. Not to mention, these people are also very much pro anti-privacy, which is not something I'm going to forgive them. Spolu, that's the current government essentially, and they have pretty strong anti-gun feelings. It's like after that shooting that we've had here, they have decided that guns should be regulated heavier, and I think it didn't actually pass, so that's good. But already the fact that it was even put forward, I find unpalatable. Not to mention that they, I believe, are also sort of pro-spying on their own citizens. And overall, they're doing good exterior politics, but their interior politics are horrible. And to me, it's more important to focus on the interior of the country than on the exterior. Not that you shouldn't care about the exterior at all, but you have to care for your own people first, and everybody else is second. When it comes to Yes 2011, or Anno 2011, as you can see there, that's basically the previous ruling party. They have been responsible for the electronic registry system that have killed so many of our businessmen, of small businesses specifically. The big businesses basically didn't feel it, but the small businesses have absolutely suffered under their rule. Not to mention that Mr. Babiš has a certain scratch on his reputation with a certain virus situation that we've had here, because it was his reluctance that have actually caused us to go into a really bad situation. Then motorists, they're kind of car-centric as far as I'm aware. And their leader have been found photographing himself, photographing his dials while driving, obviously on our road, far above any sort of possible speed limit, which means that, yeah, their IQ is low, because you don't photograph yourself while you're performing something against the law. I think that should be obvious. When it comes to statulo, or enough in translation, that's basically communists. Okay, they're building on hate. All right, so motorists are more or less building on car people, or trying to build on car people. Yes, 2011 is constantly trying to build on pensioners. And the Statulo party is building on hate and envy. So, it's like, I think if I went more deeply into them, I would be probably capable of identifying all of the mortal sins here. If I'm going to summarize it, this voting period is like, I'm not excited about throwing a vote into the coffer, into the box, into the voting box this year. I'm not excited about it because you can see that I have relatively low rate of, it's like best is 61% hit. So very clearly, my values do not truly align with any of the parties. 61% is just not good enough, and I already know that Pirates have already screwed up, and they're not holding on to their promises. I was actually voting for them previously, so I'm not going to repeat that disappointment again. And the rest of the parties is basically just different flavors of liars. So yeah, I'm not excited about any of them. I don't exactly want to throw away my vote by not going to vote or voting for a party that's not gonna get there. But at the same time, the parties that have any likelihood of actually getting there are terrible. They're all terrible. They're all bad choices. And I now fully understand why Americans have voted for Republicans, despite the fact that it was a terrible choice. Because I could not vote for the current party that is ruling now, because that would have meant that I agree with their politics, which I don't. And so I have to vote for someone else in order to change the system, to put a shock into the system, and hopefully do a soft reset, not a hard one.
But at the same time, I'm not I'm not excited about that reset at all, because I know it's not going to be that much better. In fact, it's probably not going to be better at all. So I can only hope for things not becoming worse. And I think I think this should be enough from me. Pegaskiller logging off for today.